A blackmailer thinks the threat gives them power. But every threat is actually a confession that they need you, a confession that they fear losing control, a confession that their ego is cracking under its own weight. Today, you're going to learn how to weaponize that confession until the narcissistic blackmailer destroys themselves with the very leverage they believe would destroy you. Stay with me until the end of this chapter, and you will understand the first and most critical rule of dismantling a narcissistic blackmailer. The threat is not their power. The threat is their panic, and panic is predictable. By the end of this video, you will know why their ego makes them sloppy, why their leverage is weaker than it appears, how to hold psychological ground even when you feel cornered, and the 15-step Machiavellian sequence that dismantles their control, chapter by chapter, move by move. These are the same strategic frameworks used by negotiators, intelligence analysts, and high-stakes power players who understand one truth. Blackmail isn't about information. It's about emotional leverage. And emotional leverage collapses the moment you stop feeding it. Here's your first shot of clarity. A narcissistic ex-friend threatens you because they believe you are still inside their psychological cage. They assume you fear embarrassment. You fear judgment. You fear loss of reputation. You fear conflict. They rely on those fears. They depend on them. Without them, they have nothing. And this is where the reversal begins. The moment a narcissist needs fear to control you, they reveal something fatal. They have no other power. That is the crack. And this video is where you tear it open. Let me tell you a truth most people never hear. A narcissistic blackmailer doesn't choose their victim randomly. They choose someone they believe is empathetic, someone who once trusted them, someone who once cared. Because narcissistic control doesn't begin with the threat. It begins with access, familiarity, emotional history. That former friend threatening to expose your private chats? They didn't do it because they're powerful. They did it because they thought you'd still react the way you used to. They thought you'd panic. They thought you'd apologize. They thought you'd obey. But here's the part they never saw coming. You're not the same person they used to manipulate. They're using old strategies on a new version of you when they no longer understand. So here's the question. If every threat is a confession, what exactly is your narcissistic blackmailer confessing? Their fear, their weakness, their desperation, their loss of narrative control. And you're about to use all of it. If you're still watching, type, "I see the game." You're not here by accident. You're here because you're ready to stop being manipulated and start becoming dangerous. Now listen carefully, because this is where the war begins. A narcissistic blackmailer lives in a delusion that your fear is permanent, that your loyalty is automatic, that your silence is guaranteed. So when you break any one of those conditions, their psychology destabilizes. You will learn the first destabilization technique, the one that narc blackmailers never see coming and never recover from. But before we go there, you must absorb this truth. Their threat is their weakness. Their leverage is their limitation. Their ego is their downfall. And you will use all of this against them. By the end of this video series, you will be equipped with a Machiavellian mindset that makes psychological control impossible for them and effortless for you. This chapter is the doorway, the foundation, the first crack in their armor. And trust me, they have no idea what's coming next. Before we go further, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next moves in this psychological war. This channel is not entertainment. It's a weapon when you're about to master. Next, we expose a narcissist panic button, the emotional trigger that makes every blackmailer unravel when pressed the right way. The narcissist panic button. Every narcissist has a hidden panic button, and it's not your guilt. It's not your fear. It's the moment they realize they might lose control over you. The second you stop reacting the way they expect, their carefully constructed facade shatters. By the end of this chapter, you will know exactly where that panic button is and how to press it without saying a word. By the time we finish, You'll understand an invisible trigger that makes a narcissistic blackmailer crumble. You'll know how to maintain dominance, even when they escalate threats. You'll gain the psychological blueprint to make them doubt every move they've ever made against you. And yes, this is the weaponized knowledge Machiavelli would have taught his students. The truth about narcissistic panic. A narcissist blackmailing you is not powerful. They are desperate. They feed on your reaction. They thrive on fear, guilt, and compliance. Remove one, your fear, your guilt, your emotional reaction, and the narcissist enters panic mode. Their powerful threat collapses under the weight of their own ego. This is your first tactical advantage. Calmness is lethal. Silence is a trap. Indifference is power. A man once tried to manipulate a colleague using a carefully timed threat. He sent multiple messages, designed to provoke fear. The colleague didn't respond. Not a word. Not a flinch. Instead, she observed tone, timing, phrasing. By the third attempt, the manipulator was shaking. He overcompensated, sent contradictory demands, then tried guilt. Within 48 hours, the aggressor had admitted over email that they had no real leverage. The threat that once seemed terrifying became their confession, a weakness. Lesson: a narcissist panics before you ever act. They panic when you stop acting like a victim. Ask yourself, what makes them nervous? It's not your secrets. It's not your mistakes. It's your control over your own reactions. Once you master this, their panic button becomes your tool. Here's how the cold strategy works. 1. Observe. Note the subtle signs of unease, pauses, repeated phrasing, urgent messages. 2. Pause. Do not respond immediately. Delay signals confidence. 3. Mirror. If they escalate threats, respond calmly, flat, unshaken. 4. Question. Ask pointed questions. What outcome are you expecting? 5. Detach. Their panic grows while you remain untouchable. Every narcissist fears losing control more than anything else. By remaining cold, you force them to confront their own fragility. Their panic becomes your advantage. The more they threaten, the more visible their panic becomes. And here's the Machiavellian truth. Panic is contagious, but only from them to themselves. Their threat now exists solely in their mind, and you hold all the leverage. When the blackmailer begins to second-guess their own plan, you've already won the psychological battle without a single defensive move. Say it aloud. I am calm. I am untouchable. I see through their fear. Type panic controlled in the comments if you feel your mind sharpen. Next, we uncover the narcissist's fatal flaw, their ego dependence, and how to turn it into a weapon that collapses their entire strategy. The narcissist's fatal flaw, ego dependence. Every threat hides a crack. Here's a truth most people miss. A narcissist only has one true weakness, their ego. Every threat, every manipulation, every attempt to control you springs from a desperate need to protect their self-image. And once you identify that ego dependence, you don't just defend yourself, you weaponize it. By the end of this, you will know why their threats collapse when their ego is challenged, how to subtly attack their self-image without anger or confrontation, how to make them question every plan they've ever made against you. This is a turning point. Once you control their perception of themselves, you control them. A narcissist cannot tolerate a loss of superiority. They crave recognition, dominance, and emotional obedience. Every manipulation, every threat, every calculated intimidation. It is a defense mechanism against the fear of appearing weak. Strike at their ego in the right way, and their entire blackmail strategy begins to unravel. They second-guess their leverage. They overthink every message. They become unpredictable. They expose their panic without realizing it. And you, cold and calculated, remain untouchable. Consider this. A former friend sent a threatening message, assuming it would provoke fear. Instead of responding emotionally, the target subtly questioned their reasoning. Do you really believe this defines me? Are you sure your plan will work? Is this really about me or about how you feel? The narcissist froze. Every word you choose attacks their ego silently. By forcing them to reflect on their insecurity, they become the prisoner of their own fear. Lesson: ego dependence is a trap waiting to be sprung. You only need to know where and how to pull it. Ask yourself, where does their confidence falter? When do they double-check facts? When do they try too hard to control the narrative? Those are the cracks. Those are your openings. Those are the points where the narcissist blackmail loses traction. Here's your Machiavellian strategy. 1. Detach, maintain emotional distance. 2. Mirror, subtly echo their insecurities in a neutral tone. 3. Question, use concise, pointed questions that make them reflect. 4. Expose contradictions, highlight inconsistencies in their plan without aggression. 5. Amplify self-doubt, silence combined with subtle nudges forces them to panic internally. This is not confrontation. This is calculated mental dominance. They will crumble on their own the moment the narcissist questions their own superiority. Threats lose meaning. Panic replaces confidence. Every action becomes reactive. You control the narrative. You are no longer reacting. You are orchestrating. You are the silent predator in their mind. Knowledge is power. And in this war, power is survival. Say it to yourself. Their ego is fragile. My calm is unstoppable. I control the game. Type ego expose in the comments if your mind is ready to dominate. Next, we uncover the weaponized silence, the single most feared response in the narcissist world, and the move that begins breaking their leverage completely. Weaponized silence, the ultimate counterstrike. Silence is your deadliest weapon. The narcissist fears one thing above all: not being able to provoke you. Every threat, every accusation, every attempt to manipulate hinges on one expectation: your emotional reaction. Take it away, and suddenly they are exposed. Silence is not passivity. Silence is a trap. Silence is power in its purest, coldest form. By the end of this, you will know how to turn silence into a psychological weapon. Make a narcissist panic without saying a word. Force them to unravel internally while you remain untouchable. This is the move that separates the prepared from the prey. Why silence works. A narcissistic blackmailer relies on 1. Emotional supply. Your reaction feeds their power. 2. Predictable behavior. They expect you to respond in fear, guilt, or shame. 3. Control of narrative. They assume your compliance. Remove all three with calculated silence, and their carefully crafted threat collapses. Suddenly, they are reactive, unstable, and vulnerable. They panic internally, and their ego begins to crack. A friend once sent threatening messages attempting to expose private content. Instead of panicking or negotiating the target, read every message. Observe the tone and timing. Responded with nothing. The narcissist began sending repeated, increasingly desperate messages. Each attempt made them more frantic, more inconsistent, more exposed. By day 3, they had admitted internally, though never publicly, that their plan was failing. All because the target chose silence over reaction. Moral: the narcissist cannot operate effectively against a calm, unshakable mind. Ask yourself, can I remain unshaken under provocation? Can I let their threats hang in the air while I observe silently? Can I turn their desperation into my advantage? If the answer is yes, you've just gained a power they cannot anticipate. Here's your Machiavellian step-by-step. 1. Pause and observe. Let the threat hang. Note tone, word choice, and urgency. 2. Do not react immediately. Delay is power. A slow, measured response signals confidence. 3. Mirror minimal emotion. Neutrality confuses them. They can't predict or manipulate you. 4. Subtle reinforcement. Occasionally acknowledge, but do not apologize or explain. 5. Force self-doubt. Their panic grows as they realize their plan may be failing. This is not revenge. This is strategic control. Your silence forces them to confront their own fragility. The narcissist collapse begins. The moment you weaponize silence, their threats lose energy. Their ego trembles. They overthink every message. They escalate in desperation. And you? You remain untouchable, calm, and observant. Every move now becomes theirs to predict, because they are operating in fear of your non-reaction. You are building a mind that cannot be cornered, coerced, or intimidated. This is more than defense. This is dominance. Say it aloud. I control my reaction. Their threats control nothing. Silence is my weapon. Type silent power in the comments if you feel your mind sharpening. Next, we explore the power reversal. How to make the narcissist doubt every plan, question every tactic, and crumble psychologically before you even act. The power reversal, making them question themselves. When they begin to doubt, you win. The narcissist believes the threat gives them control. But what if you could make them question their own plan before you ever act? That's the essence of power reversal, turning their confidence into self-doubt, their leverage into insecurity, and their threats into their own undoing. By the end of this, you will know how to subtly destabilize their strategy, how to provoke self-doubt without confrontation, how to maintain psychological dominance even when they escalate threats. This is the first move that transforms you from victim into architect of their collapse. Here's the cold, ruthless truth. A narcissist depends on two things. 1. Their perception of control. 2. Your emotional reaction. Remove these and their confidence crumbles. Techniques for reversal. Flat acknowledgement, short, emotionless responses like noted or interesting. Subtle questioning. Are you sure this will work? Control calmness. Avoid any sign of fear, guilt, or urgency. Every reaction they expect that doesn't arrive becomes a seed of doubt in their mind. A narcissistic former friend once tried to intimidate a colleague with private threats. Instead of panicking, the colleague responded once, calm, flat, and neutral. I see. And what exactly are you expecting from this? The blackmailer paused, then repeated the question to themselves, over and over. By the end of the week, they were unsure of every message they had sent. Their threat meant to control became a mirror of their own insecurities. You don't always have to act aggressively. Sometimes psychological stillness is the deadliest weapon. Ask yourself, where's their confidence fragile? Which assumptions do they take for granted? How can you respond in a way that forces internal doubt? Every narcissist has blind spots. Every blackmailer fears the unexpected. You are about to become that unexpected variable. Here's your Machiavellian sequence. 1. Observe patterns. Track their threats and responses. 2. Respond minimally. One line, flat tone, no emotion. 3. Mirror uncertainty subtly. Question without challenge. Are you sure? 4. Wait. Let them process internally. Panic grows in silence. 5. Exploit hesitation. Their next move will reveal weakness. Capitalize. You're not attacking them physically. You're attacking their confidence, their ego, their assumed superiority. Once doubt sets in, they hesitate. They overcompensate. They reveal their desperation. They lose the narrative entirely. And you walk away composed, untouchable, and 2 moves ahead. They are trapped in the game you are controlling mentally before a single word leaves your mouth. This is cold, strategic dominance, and it becomes second nature when mastered. Say it aloud. I create doubt. I control the narrative. Their threats serve me. Type reversal activated in the comments if you feel the power shift in your mind. Next, we enter the break point, the moment the narcissist begins to lose control completely, and the psychological trap you've been setting begins to snap shut. The break point, when a blackmailer loses control. The moment they crack, you win. Every narcissistic blackmailer has a breaking point. It's the moment their threats stop working. Their confidence evaporates, and panic takes over. And that moment, it's predictable. If you know what to look for, by the end of this chapter, you will know how to push them to this exact point without ever appearing aggressive or desperate. Today, you will master how to identify the exact signs of their internal collapse, how to trigger the psychological breakpoint subtly and ruthlessly, how to maintain calm while they crumble. Once you control the breakpoint, you no longer defend, you dominate. A narcissist's control depends on predictable reactions, fear, guilt, obedience. When you refuse to provide any of these, their internal system begins to overload. Indicators they are reaching the break point. Contradictory messages, increased urgency or aggression, obsessive follow-ups, attempts to justify themselves. Your task? Observe, wait, exploit. Even silence is enough to accelerate their collapse. A man threatened to expose private videos to manipulate a former acquaintance. Instead of reacting emotionally, the target maintained calm and minimal communication. Within 24 hours, the blackmailer's messages became erratic. He contradicted himself multiple times. He overexplained his intentions. By the third day, he admitted in writing he had no leverage. The threat that once seemed terrifying became a confession of desperation. Lesson: the break point is inevitable if you maintain control. Ask yourself, where do their words start to contradict themselves? Where do you see panic in tone or phrasing? When do they begin over-explaining? Those are your strategic indicators, and each one brings you closer to total psychological dominance. Tactical steps to trigger the breakpoint. Here's your Machiavellian blueprint. 1. Hold your calm, never show panic or anger. 2. Delay responses strategically. Time increases their anxiety. 3. Mirror subtle uncertainty. Let them question themselves. 4. Highlight contradictions lightly, without accusation. Let their mind do the work. 5. Observe their unraveling. Every message reveals more weakness. Do not attack. Do not react emotionally. The collapse occurs internally, and you are the architect. When the narcissist reaches the breakpoint, threats lose all potency. Panic replaces strategy. Ego trembles, leading to mistakes. They concede psychologically, even if not verbally. You remain composed, untouchable, and in control. You do not need to act aggressively. The mind of your adversary becomes your battlefield, using silence as a weapon, exploiting their panic for strategic gains, flipping every threat back onto them. This is psychological warfare mastery, and you're only getting started. Say it aloud. I see their cracks. I hold my calm. Their collapse is inevitable. Type breakpoint reached in the comments if your mind is ready to dominate the game. Next, we explore the psychological weapon of silence, the move that terrifies narcissistic blackmailers most, and begins the second wave of your strategic control. Silence is a weapon. Fear they can't touch. They fear what you don't say. The blackmailer expects one thing: your emotional reaction. Fear, panic, anger, guilt. Take it away. Respond with nothing. Suddenly, you hold the power. Silence is not passive. Silence is a trap they fall into unknowingly. By the end of this chapter, you will know exactly how to weaponize silence to make them unravel psychologically without lifting a finger. After this, you'll understand why narcissists panic at your non-reaction. You'll learn the exact steps to turn silence into a psychological weapon. You'll gain the mindset to dominate even the most manipulative threats. This is the move that separates the untouchable from the terrified. A blackmailer relies on your reaction. Remove it, they become frustrated. They overcompensate. They contradict themselves. They panic internally. Your calm silence destroys their narrative. They cannot threaten what they cannot provoke. Your restraint becomes the ultimate weapon. A former friend tried to manipulate a client using sensitive material. The client: read each message carefully. Responded only with neutral acknowledgement. Noted. Did not apologize, negotiate, or explain. Within 48 hours, the blackmailer's messages became erratic. Contradictions appeared in tone and content. Panic replaced confidence. By simply saying nothing, the target turned the tables completely. Lesson: silence is more lethal than any argument. Ask yourself, can I resist reacting emotionally? Can I let threats hang in the air while observing? Can I make their panic internalize without engaging? If yes, you've just gained a weapon they cannot see coming. Tactical steps. 1. Observe first. Watch tone, wording, urgency. 2. Pause strategically. Delayed or minimal responses increase anxiety. 3. Mirror subtly. Repeat their words neutrally to create doubt. 4. Do not explain. Silence plus observation forces their internal unraveling. 5. Let panic grow. The longer you remain calm, the faster their ego collapses. Every day you remain silent, they edge closer to total psychological defeat. Once silence is deployed effectively, threats lose potency. Panic grows. Ego falters. Every move they make becomes visible to you. You don't need to strike. Their fear becomes self-inflicted, and your control becomes absolute. This is strategy in motion, and you are becoming untouchable. Say it aloud. Silence is my weapon. Their threats touch nothing. I am untouchable. Type silent domination in the comments if your mind is ready to control the game. Next, we explore the art of controlled exposure, how to subtly show power and make them doubt their leverage completely. Controlled exposure. Destroy their leverage without saying a word. The moment they realize you're not afraid, they lose all power. The blackmailer believes they hold a secret over you, a weakness, a weapon, a piece of information that could destroy you. But here's the Machiavellian twist. Power doesn't come from what they have. It comes from how much you fear it. And once you learn the art of controlled exposure, you can dissolve their leverage in one move, without confronting, without arguing, and without revealing weakness. By the end of this chapter, that weapon they're holding, it will turn to dust. Now you will learn how to strategically reveal micro-information that weakens their threat, how to make their secret leverage irrelevant without exposing yourself, how to psychologically dismantle their confidence, how to make them doubt their entire plan. This is the chapter where the hunter becomes a hunted. What controlled exposure really is. Controlled exposure is not confessing. It's not admitting guilt. It's not seeking approval. It's the opposite. It is the art of revealing just enough truth to neutralize their power, disarm their threat, make their secret useless, force them into emotional panic. This is what powerful people do. They choose what others are allowed to know. Nothing destroys leverage faster. A businessman was being blackmailed with a scandal that wasn't illegal, but embarrassing. Instead of begging, he made one move. He casually brought up the situation to a trusted colleague in a light, almost humorous tone. Not in detail, just enough to show he wasn't hiding. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't controlled. Result? The blackmailer instantly realized the truth. The threat was already leaking oxygen. The leverage was dying. The fear was gone. Within hours, the blackmailer backed down. Not because he was confronted, but because his weapon had become invisible. That's controlled exposure. Ask yourself now, what if their threat doesn't scare you anymore? What if their leverage becomes irrelevant? What if you show even subtly that you are not hiding? You don't have to reveal everything. Just a tiny amount is enough to collapse the illusion of danger. How to use controlled exposure without risk. 1. Acknowledge the topic in a neutral space. Mention it in a casual, unbothered tone to someone safe. Not details, just a hint. 2. Show emotional indifference. Your tone should be, it exists, and I'm not losing sleep. 3. Let it circulate at a controlled pace. You choose the timing. You choose the audience. You control the narrative. 4. Observe the blackmailer's next move. They will either panic, pull back, become desperate, make a mistake, expose their own fear. 5. Maintain calm dominance. Never rush. Never over-explain. Your subtle exposure is a psychological earthquake. This is how you become untouchable. Once you practice controlled exposure, their threats lose weight. Their confidence cracks. Their emotional state destabilizes. Their weapon no longer controls you. Their plans collapse without you lifting a finger. This is psychological warfare at its finest. Let them hold the gun, then show them it's empty. We are entering the advanced zone. How to trigger their doubt. The art of reverse fear. Making them self-destruct emotionally. If you're serious about becoming mentally unshakable, stay locked in. Say it slowly. Their leverage is powerless. I control the narrative. I dictate the outcome. Type, I control everything in the comments if you feel this awakening inside you. Next, we dive into the doubt trigger, the Machiavellian technique that makes the blackmailer question their entire plan and even their own mind. The doubt trigger, make them question everything. When they start doubting themselves, you own the game. The narcissist thrives on certainty. Certainty that you will fear them. Certainty that you will comply. Certainty that their leverage is real. Remove that certainty, and they spiral. This is a doubt trigger, a subtle psychological technique that forces your blackmailer to question everything they thought they knew about you, the situation, and themselves. By the end of this chapter, you'll know how to ignite that internal doubt without aggression, confrontation, or revealing vulnerability. After this, you will learn how to plant seeds of uncertainty in a blackmailer's mind, how to destabilize their confidence without saying a word they can use against you, how to turn every threat into a mirror of their own fear. This is where psychological dominance becomes surgical. You control the battlefield inside their mind. The doubt trigger works on 3 levels. 1. Self-reflection. Make them question their motives. 2. Perceive futility. Make them feel their plan may fail. 3. Fear of exposure. Make them question if their threat has any real leverage. Once triggered, the blackmailer becomes reactive instead of proactive. They begin to second-guess every decision, overthink every message, and reveal their insecurity all internally. A client was being blackmailed with intimate material. Instead of panicking or arguing, she sent one short line. "Are you sure this works the way you think it does?" It seemed harmless, neutral, casual, but inside, it was a psychological hammer. Within hours, the blackmailer began sending contradictory messages, over-explaining motives, making mistakes they hadn't planned for. By the end of the week, the blackmailer was unsure if they even had leverage at all because one small seed of doubt was planted. Lesson: you don't always need confrontation. You need strategic doubt. Ask yourself, where is their confidence unshakable? What assumptions do they take for granted? How can I plant subtle uncertainty without revealing fear? Once you identify these weak points, the doubt trigger becomes unstoppable. How to make them question everything. 1. Observe patterns. Look for rigid thinking and assumptions. 2. Use neutral questioning. Are you sure this will work? Does this strategy make sense to you? 3. Do not explain or justify. Silence and observation amplify doubt. 4. Pause strategically. Let them fill the silence with panic or overcompensation. 5. Watch for mistakes. They will reveal weakness without realizing it. This is precision psychological warfare. You destabilize the mind of your adversary without lifting a finger. Once doubt takes hold, threats lose potency. Confidence collapses. Panic replaces strategy. Ego trembles. Every move they make becomes visible to you. The blackmailer is trapped inside their own mind, and you are the calm observer controlling the outcome. Say aloud, I plant doubt. I control the narrative. Their mind is mine to observe. Type doubt activated in the comments if your mind is ready to dominate. Next, we reveal the final reversal. How to turn every threat, every panic, every attempt at manipulation completely against a blackmailer, leaving them powerless while you remain untouchable. The reversal shift, making them fear themselves. The moment they feel watched, they fall apart. A blackmailer can threaten you. They can bark. They can posture. They can pretend to be powerful. But there is one thing they cannot survive: the feeling that they are the one losing control. In this chapter, you will learn how to flip the psychological balance so completely that the blackmailer becomes terrified of their own actions, their own messages, their own impulses, their own ego. You won't threaten them. You won't confront them. You won't expose anything. You will simply let them realize internally that they have walked themselves into a trap. By the end of this, you'll know how to make the blackmailer question every message they send. Make them fear consequences you never even mentioned. Turn their confidence into paranoia. Shift the dynamic so they feel like they're the one being studied, monitored, observed. This is psychological reversal at its purest form. You become the silent mirror, and they see their own downfall in it. The reversal shift has 3 layers. 1. Ambiguous awareness. You subtly imply you're aware of more than they think. You don't say what. You don't say how. 2. Implied surveillance. You don't say you're watching them. You only behave like someone who already knows their next move. 3. Internal fear loop. Their mind begins generating its own threats. What if they know? What if someone else is involved? What if this backfires on me? Fear becomes self-generated. That's the power of the reversal shift. A man was being extorted by a former colleague. Instead of arguing, he replied with one chilling line: "You should rethink this direction." No emotion, no fear, no detail, no follow-up. Within hours, the blackmailer sent a cascade of frantic messages. "What do you mean? What direction? Are you threatening me? Is someone else involved? We can talk this out." The silence was louder than any threat. The ambiguity was more powerful than any confrontation. The absence of panic was a declaration of dominance. By day 3, the blackmailer was begging to forget everything. That is the reversal shift. You force them to interrogate themselves. There are 3 psychologically lethal lines you can use without breaking any laws, rules, or ethics. 1. Interesting timing. 2. I see the pattern now. 3. You might want to think twice. None are direct threats. None could be used against you. But each one destroys their sense of safety. How to activate the fear loop. 1. The delayed response. Wait. Take your time. Let them feel the silence. This activates their imagination. 2. The neutral observation. Drop simple, calm statements. Noted. Understood. I see. No emotion equals maximum intimidation. 3. The sudden mirror. Repeat their own words back to them, calmly. You said you would do what? This is your plan? This forces them to confront the ugliness of their actions. 4. The exit door. Offer a logical escape route. You can still walk away from this. When you provide the exit, they start fearing the alternative. After the reversal shift takes hold, they respond faster than you. They over-explain everything. They panic about consequences you never mentioned. They fear being exposed. They feel watched, even when you're silent. They begin withdrawing the threat themselves. They become trapped in a cage made of their own imagination. And you remain untouchable. You've entered advanced psychological territory. These next chapters will teach you how to end the threat permanently, make the blackmailer retreat, reclaim full psychological power, become immune to manipulation for life. This knowledge is a difference between fear and dominance. Say this quietly: my silence is power. My control is internal. Their fear is self-created. Comment reversal locked in. If you understand this level. Next, you learn the panic curve, the moment where your blackmailer's world collapses from confidence to fear to retreat. The panic curve, watch them crumble from within. When their world collapses, you don't move a muscle. The blackmailer believes they are in control. But every manipulator has a panic curve, the moment fear overtakes strategy. This is the tipping point. Their ego trembles. Their confidence cracks. Their threats lose all power. And the best part? You don't do a thing. You simply watch. By the end of this chapter, you'll know how to recognize the curve and accelerate it, turning their panic into your advantage. After this, you'll be able to identify the exact moment the blackmailer begins to unravel, manipulate their panic without confrontation, predict their next move while remaining untouchable, make their threats self-destructive. This is a psychological edge that separates the hunted from the hunter. The panic curve is a predictable pattern. 1. Confidence peak. They believe they have leverage. 2. Subtle doubt. Your controlled silence or micro-assertions trigger uncertainty. 3. Internal conflict. Fear, self-questioning, and overthinking dominate. 4. Desperate action. They overreach or reveal weaknesses. 5. Collapse. Ego shatters. Threat loses all power. Your goal: push them down the curve while staying above it. A man threatened a former lover with private content. Instead of panicking, she responded strategically. Minimal, neutral replies. Subtle micro-messages implying awareness. No negotiation, no emotional reaction. Within 48 hours, the blackmailer began sending erratic, contradictory messages. He overexplained every threat. He miscalculated timing and audience. Panic replaced control. By the end, the blackmailer voluntarily withdrew the threat, all because their panic curve was triggered and they had no guide out. Lesson: the panic curve is inevitable if you remain calm, controlled, and unshakable. Ask yourself, are their messages becoming inconsistent? Are they repeating themselves unnecessarily? Are they trying to justify their actions? These are the warning signs that the panic curve is beginning, and you are now in full control. Tactical steps to push them further down. 1. Hold your silence. Delay responses. Let them stew. Panic grows in silence. 2. Drop ambiguity. Subtle, neutral statements that imply knowledge without disclosure. Interesting choice. I see the pattern now. 3. Mirror their anxiety. Reflect their contradictions neutrally. They begin to see themselves as unreliable. 4. Allow self-exposure. Do not probe. Let them expose their panic through words, tone, and errors. 5. Observe without intervening. Every misstep accelerates their collapse. Your calm is the anchor. Their panic is a storm. Once the panic curve peaks, threats collapse in potency. Ego trembles and confidence dissolves. Every word they send reinforces your dominance. You are untouchable, unshakable, and in control. You created a self-destruct sequence inside their mind. They are now playing the game you designed, not the one they thought they controlled. This is the battlefield of the mind, and you are becoming untouchable. Say aloud, I remain calm. Their panic is my advantage. I control the outcome. Type panic controlled in the comments if your mind is ready to dominate completely. Next, we enter the retreat phase, how to guide the blackmailer out of the fight entirely, leaving them powerless while you maintain full control. The retreat phase, making them back away without a fight. The strongest position is silence, while they slowly retreat. A blackmailer expects resistance. They expect fear. They expect negotiation. What they do not expect is a chilling calm of someone who has already won. Now, you'll learn how to guide a blackmailer into retreating on their own, without threats, without explanations, and without giving them anything they wanted. This is where psychological mastery becomes absolute. By the end of this chapter, you'll know how to push the blackmailer to retreat voluntarily, undo their confidence without direct engagement, make them second-guess every move until retreat becomes the only option, close the psychological distance so they cannot reach you again. This is the phase where your quiet dominance becomes undeniable. Understanding retreat psychology. A manipulator retreats for only 3 reasons. 1. Fear outweighs reward. They realize the risk is too high. 2. Outcome becomes uncertain. They no longer trust their plan. 3. You stop giving emotional feedback. Their power source is cut off. When these 3 combine, retreat becomes automatic. A woman once received a threat from a co-worker attempting to extort her with private messages. Instead of reacting emotionally or negotiating, she applied the retreat strategy. No fear, no pleading, no emotional energy, only calm, ambiguous responses. She replied with a single line, "Proceed if you believe that's wise." The co-worker's confidence cracked instantly. Within hours, he sent a follow-up message, a justification, a correction, then a backpedal, then regret, then a full retreat. By the end, he apologized, deleted everything, and cut communication. Why? Because retreat is inevitable when fear, doubt, and silence converge. To make a blackmailer retreat, you don't push them. You simply stop being the emotional resource they feed on. When a predator starves, they walk away. 1. The neutral decline. Every message is short, calm, and emotionless. Noted, if that's your choice. Understood. This denies them the fuel they crave. 2. The unshaken posture. You never ask, "Please don't do this." Instead, you imply inevitability. You'll do what you believe you must. This triggers self-doubt and reconsideration. 3. The illusion of consequence. Without threatening, you let them imagine the fallout. Some actions carry weight you may not expect. Their own imagination becomes a punishment. For the psychological distance, you reduce engagement, slow responses, minimal words, zero emotional residue. Distance weakens their grip. 5. The final withdrawal. Once they begin retreating, you do nothing. Silence completes the psychological collapse. They must walk themselves out. When you execute this phase correctly, they soften their tone. They begin to justify instead of threaten. Their messages become apologetic. They retreat entirely. They fear approaching you again. You become the one person they cannot manipulate, threaten, or control. You become untouchable. Say this quietly. I don't chase. I don't fear. I don't react. They retreat. Type retreat achieved in the comments if your mind is fully locked in. Next, you learn the leverage dissolver, the technique that makes your blackmailer realize their weapon is no longer a weapon at all. This is where everything begins to collapse for them. The leverage dissolver, making their weapon useless. When their threat is nothing, you become invincible. They think they hold power over you. That one photo, one video, one secret gives them control. But here's the truth few realize. Leverage only exists if you let it exist. By the end of this chapter, you will learn how to neutralize every threat without confrontation, without exposure, without fear, so that their weapon becomes completely useless. After this chapter, you will know how to mentally dissolve every threat in your mind, how to make the blackmailer feel their weapon has no effect, how to reclaim psychological power entirely, how to appear untouchable while they are the one unraveling. This is the ultimate step before total domination. Understanding leverage. A blackmailer's power depends on your reaction. If you panic, their leverage grows. If you negotiate, their leverage grows. If you obsess, their leverage grows. Leverage is not in their possession. It's in your mind. Dissolve it internally. Stop fearing exposure. Stop worrying about their control. Stop letting their threat define your reality. Once the leverage disappears from your mind, it disappears from their world. A businessman was being extorted with private content. Instead of pleading or panicking, he did this, accepted the reality calmly, decided it didn't affect his worth, reputation, or decisions, continued life normally without reacting to threats. Result? The blackmailer tried to provoke a reaction, got none, began contradicting himself, and eventually withdrew. The weapon was still there physically, but psychologically it ceased to exist. Lesson: leverage has power only if you allow it. Ask yourself, does this threat truly harm me? Am I assigning it more weight than it deserves? How can I make this irrelevant internally? Your mind is now the battlefield. Win it first, and the blackmailer loses automatically. The dissolver technique. 1. Internal acceptance. Acknowledge the threat exists, but refuse to fear it. 2. Reframe reality. Your worth, safety, and future are unchained from their leverage. 3. Observe their reaction. They will escalate, trying to force fear, but it fails. 4. Remain calm and neutral. No replies, minimal replies, or neutral statements amplify their sense of futility. 5. Let the weapon fade. Over time, the blackmailer's leverage collapses because you have removed its fuel. Once the leverage is dissolved, threats lose meaning. Panic replaces confidence in them. Ego trembles. Every message exposes desperation. You remain untouchable. The blackmailer holds nothing because you hold everything in your mind. Say it aloud. No threat can touch me. Their leverage is gone. I am free and untouchable. Type leverage dissolved in the comments if you feel the shift internally. Next, we reveal the final lock-in strategy, how to make the blackmailer never attempt control again. The silent reversal, making them fear you. The moment they realize you're not afraid, they become afraid. A blackmailer survives on one thing, your fear. But once you remove fear from the equation, their brain scrambles to fill the void with something else. Paranoia, self-doubt, fear of retaliation. Today, You learn how to weaponize silence, precision, and psychological misdirection until the blackmailer no longer sees you as a victim. They see you as a threat. After this chapter, you will know how to flip the power dynamic, make the blackmailer question everything, trigger doubts that slowly destroy their nerve, create an aura of untouchable strength, shift the entire narrative in your favor. This is where their dominance collapses. Blackmailers are not brave. They are insecure manipulators who strike first because they fear you discovering their weakness. When you don't panic, when you don't submit, when you stay calm, you send a message their ego can't handle. You cannot hurt me. That message breaks them more than any confrontation ever could. A woman once received threats from an ex-partner. Instead of crying or arguing, she changed one thing: her tone. Every reply was neutral, short, dry, unpredictable. He expected fear. He got silence. He expected panic. He got calmness. He expected begging. He got nothing. Within days, he started asking, "Are you talking to someone? Do you have a lawyer? What are you planning?" His mind turned on itself. He became the paranoid one. She never threatened him. She didn't need to. Her silence became his punishment. Her calmness became his fear. Here are the 3 moves that flip the script instantly. 1. The delay. You stop replying instantly. Hours pass, sometimes days. This shatters their expectation of control. 2. The tone shift. Replace emotional replies with, "Noted. I see," if that's your choice. These phrases are psychological poison. They create uncertainty. 3. The vanishing act. You go quiet. You carry on with life. Meanwhile, they spiral, imagining your next move, the exact reversal sequence. 1. Stop reacting emotionally. Your calmness is their chaos. 2. Use short, neutral responses. Never show concern, only control. 3. Increase response delays. Every delay adds pressure to their ego. 4. Remove validation completely. You don't argue. You don't panic. You don't explain. 5. Let their mind attack itself. Blackmailers overthink everything. Silence is the strongest weapon in this entire script. They begin to fear you. They begin to fear exposure. They begin to fear consequences you didn't even mention. When done correctly, the blackmailer becomes unsure. They doubt every move. Their confidence collapses. Their threats feel childish. They start wanting the situation to just go away. This is the psychological apex. You have turned from target into the unpredictable force they fear. Say it. My silence is power. My calmness is dominance. I am the one they fear. Comment silent power activated. The endgame. How to make a blackmailer disappear. The strongest move is the one they never see coming. A blackmailer expects 2 things: your fear and your reaction. But the final, most Machiavellian move is neither. It is strategic invisibility. A move so controlled, so psychologically precise, that the blackmailer suddenly realizes there is no version of this game where they win. Not anymore. This is the moment you end the entire situation. Without begging, without panicking, without giving them a single inch of power. By the end of this final chapter, you will know how to close the psychological trap, how to make the blackmailer withdraw voluntarily, how to remove their motivation entirely, how to become the person they are afraid to approach, and how to walk away with your power permanently intact. This is the final lesson, the Machiavellian lesson, the one they never expect. Blackmailers only continue for one reason. They believe you will react. When you stop reacting entirely, when you refuse to give fear, attention, emotion, or weakness, you psychologically starve them. A blackmailer with no emotional reward quickly becomes a blackmailer with no motivation. And that's where you take everything away from them. A man once tried to blackmail a woman for months. Threats, messages, pressure. She followed every principle you learned in this series. Calm, neutral, silent, unpredictable. And then, one day, she sent the final message. Do whatever you think you need to do. Not defensive, not emotional, Not scared. Just power. Pure, unshakable power. She went silent. Didn't check in. Didn't chase. Didn't react. And what happened? He stopped. Not because he became kind, but because he became terrified. Terrified of her calmness. Terrified of retaliation. Terrified of consequences he couldn't predict. His imagination punished him more than she ever could. Use these only when you're fully calm. 1. The permission trap. Say this once. If that's your decision, go ahead. This destroys their imagined power. They expect fear. Instead, you give permission. It shocks their system. 2. The final silence. Block emotional access. Remove your presence. Disappear into routine. Your silence becomes a psychological threat. 3. The shift of identity. You become someone they do not want to test again. Calm, controlled, unpredictable. The worst opponent a manipulator can face. Why this ends a game. A blackmailer can only push someone who is emotional, reactive, terrified, uncertain. You're now none of these. You have become the one thing every manipulator fears. A mind they cannot control. This is the moment the blackmailer realizes. They can't scare you. They can't predict you. They can't manipulate you. They can't win against you. So they quit, disappear, move on, retreat into the shadows. Not because you fought back, but because you evolved beyond their reach. This is the end of the series, and the beginning of your new power. You're no longer the scared target. You're the one with psychological superiority. You're the one who controls the tone, the pacing, the game. You're the one they fear approaching. You have become Machiavellian in your calmness and untouchable in your mind. If this series changed the way you see power, psychology, and manipulation, then subscribe right now. This channel is your weapon, your armor, your advantage. Comment, fearless mind, if you made it the end. Because if you're still here, you're not average. You're not weak. You're not prey. You are becoming the kind of person no blackmailer can break. Say it. My fear is gone. My power is permanent. My mind is untouchable.